Hello out there in podcast land. Podcast land. Hi.
Restart.
Not this again.
I haven't even been drinking, unlike Blake. Hello, everyone out there in podcast land. Welcome to the Front Row Movie Reviews, the podcast for people who actually like movies and TV. And we are back from our winter hiatus to talk about more Star Trek Discovery, for better or for worse. I am Scott, and with me, as always, is
Mike
and Blake.
And we are here to talk about episode 10, which is Despite Yourself. I guess, obviously we'll be spoiling the hell out of this episode. So a couple of things just to throw out there right away to spoil things is obviously we are in the mirror universe because we already knew that. Thank you, Jonathan Frakes, for spoiling that about 3 months ago, but we kind of could read into that one pretty easily. And Lieutenant Tyler speaks in Klingon, so and his femur has been shortened.
And his spine.
And his spine. His femur and his spine has been shortened.
And that was sort of the end of the doctor's report at that point.
Yes, the doctor was decommissioned soon after that. Okay, well, Blake, let's get your first impressions on this.
Is it malpractice if it goes both directions?
First impressions. I think it was a good episode. I did like it. I did like that it also tied into some of what we've seen in Star Trek canon before. So I liked that part of it. I still am kind of questioning some of the Klingon storyline with this. I think it feels like they realized early on it wasn't working. And so they've left that hanging. So that's kind of where I'm at. I kind of feel they set up a bunch of stuff and have tried shifting directions on it. So it feels a little disjointed to me at this point.
Mike, what about you?
Yeah, I'll build on that for no other reason than to say that we still don't know what Lorca's deal is, and I'm beginning to question whether there's going to be one or not. I think we all talked last time, and I certainly have searched in the meantime, about the end of last season when they do the final jump that puts them into the mirror universe, and the fact that there's very clearly something going on Lorca's command council where, supposedly he pulled something with the jump, but I was shocked, I guess, to find that they didn't reference that even a little bit in this entire episode.
They did just a little bit because Lorca says that Stannis was looking forward to exploring these new jump points after the war, which Stannis said, no, I don't want to do this at all ever again.
Yeah, and I do think they did try to, because I think they mentioned looking into the records of the jump and everything, and Lorca pretty much shut that down pretty fast.
Okay, I must have missed that line. I was still experiencing a fair amount of stuttering thanks to CBS.
Yeah, can we just CBS had a winter to figure this shit out with their servers, and they still can't figure it out.
I will say, at least for me, it seemed as though it was better than it has been in the past, but it's still no Netflix.
No, it's not. They cannot complain that we have 3 million people watching this at the same time. I watched Stranger Things season 2 as soon as it dropped. Never had a problem once. This, every few seconds, it stutters. It's annoying as hell.
Yeah, so that is true. But anyway, and I'm sure we'll circle around to the talk about Amazon later too. But to my point, I guess if they did throw, I guess, some sidelong references back to that. But I was definitely expecting more of a direct payoff as far as finding out, Lorca's from the mirror universe, or we don't know yet. And like I said, I'm beginning to think that even the fact that they didn't in the recap, show his counsel or anything like that, because I was watching for it, it kind of makes me wonder if some flux happened with the writing. I don't know. I may be reaching on that, but I guess we'll see.
Well, yeah, I think you're right on that. The AV Club put out an interview they did with 2 of the executive producers, and they were even saying that season 2 will be more Star Trek-y. So I think the writers are realizing, because all of this was filmed before it even started streaming. That's the goofy thing about this, extending this out for a whole season, is I think they were filming the final episode when the streaming began. So there was no way aside from editing here and there, that they could change the story based on fan reaction. So any
Right.
fan reaction that's going to have any change on anything is going to happen in season 2. But I think also what you're finding out here is this is the new writer room that took over after the main writing room left with Brian Fuller, having finally kind of taking on everything. Because I think even they said like the fans in the writing room that were there to like make sure everything was kosher with canon didn't really join the writing room until episode 5 or 6. So I think we're seeing that a little bit. For me, this was one of the better episodes. And I think one of the reasons why is because it's one of the few episodes that actually strikes me as what it's supposed to be, and that is a Star Trek prequel. We have a lot of tie-ins with the Mirror Universe as we knew it 10 years hence when TOS goes into the Mirror Universe. And also ties in a little bit of DS9 too, because we didn't really ever deal with the rebellion on the Mirror and TOS, but obviously DS9 deals with the rebellion quite a bit. Obviously, it's flipped, and the Terrans are rebelling at that point.
Mm-hmm.
But if anyone doesn't think Star Trek Enterprise is canon, this show has gone out of its way several times to make Enterprise canon, because now we've got the whole situation with the Defiant again. And as Creeper in the chat room pointed out, we got to see a Constitution class. And it actually looks like a Constitution class.
Yep.
I mean, obviously, we just saw an outline, but at least they didn't make it not a Constitution class.
Yeah, I mean, I still expect when we actually see it on screen, if we actually see it on screen, I think we will. I do still expect there will be some visual changes that'll certainly be enough to enrage many a fanboy.
I don't think I'll get in trouble for saying this, because he said it on my other podcast, so I guess he will get in trouble if anything. But we were interviewing Robert Meyer Burnett for our Twilight Zone podcast, and Robert is pretty involved in Hollywood stuff. He did all of the special features for the TNG Blu-rays. He was going to be the director of Axanar before Axanar didn't happen. And he has a buddy who does the CGI model work for Discovery, and he was told that they were working on a Constitution class.
Yeah, and among all the other rumors that are circulating out there, I don't remember if we said this on the podcast or in our conversation before we started here tonight, but there's been a lot of talk about how season 2 will start to see a lot more familiar Star Trek, tropes and that kind of thing. I know I've definitely read somewhere recently that there's even been talk that by the end of this season we'll see a familiar Starfleet.
One can only hope.
Yeah, I imagine that's a direct throw at the Defiant and the Constitution class.
Mm-hmm. I think it's where they're going to have to go. I mean, they made this show so close to the era we know. Like, again, the Enterprise is out there. It's under the command of Captain Pike right now. It's out there. So you can't just pretend like it doesn't exist. But yeah, I mean, I liked all of the little connections. I also like the fact that we're in the Cutthroat Mirror Universe again. It does get old after a while, so I hope we don't stay there too long. I even think DS9 kind of drew it out a little bit too much when they did 3 or 4 different Mirror episodes in their run. There's just so many times you can deal with Dominatrix Tilly, but at least for 1 or 2 episodes, I'm okay with it. Let's go ahead and start talking about things we liked about the episode. We'll go for Mike first. What do you got?
This was a tough one for me to digest because there's a lot going on in it, and I think that's one of the things I liked about it. It definitely, it didn't take the storyline and chuck it forward a little bit. It kind of took the storyline and swung for the rafters, and so we got a lot of movement on a couple of different fronts. We got a lot of movement, I think. Maybe not necessarily with the Stamets storyline, but certainly with, let's just go ahead and say Vok, and where that is going to kind of be headed, as well as this really new foray into the Mirror Universe. So it was all good. I think, the pacing continues to be, to me, one of the stronger points about this entire series so far. So I was happy with that. I'll bow out there. I think that's my main piece.
Blake, what do you got?
So what I liked about it is a lot with kind of what you had mentioned earlier. This episode really did feel like a Star Trek episode, especially with the mirror universe. And some of what I other liked about it were the little pieces connecting it. One was the appearance of the Constitution class, so we could see that. It does look pretty similar to what a TOS ship does. There's going to be some visual changes. I think just the necessity of, you're dealing with 4K television now, and I don't think that era of Star Trek has ever been presented in that way.
Yeah,
and I don't think there's a way to do it without updating. So I see why they're doing that. I also think, as far as just even within Discovery, we got to see technology like the shuttle that Voke/Tyler was using to recover the data core. That looked like an older shuttle than what we've maybe seen before, and seemed like it would be more of a period. So I'm liking what it's looking like. I'm liking the direction and the pacing, like you, Mike. I think the pacing's getting good with it. And I do think we're seeing that there's been a shift in the writer's room. Even if these episodes were written and started production before the streaming, I think we're now starting to see that transition in the writer's room, and they're taking it more in a Star Trek direction than maybe what it started.
Yeah, one of the things, Mike, you kind of mentioned already that we didn't get too much of a discussion of the captain's, just being a general douche. I don't think he's from the mirror universe. I think he's just trying to save his own ass. But this is the first time for me, even knowing all that he felt like a captain. Mm-hmm. Throughout the episode, he's doing everything he should be doing. He's supporting the crew. He's taking the hits and throwing himself into a bulkhead, which was really painful to watch. Of course, that was rewarding. True. That was one of the times that CBS stuttered on me. So I actually watched him move towards the bulkhead and come back with blood. So I was like, he must have hit himself. But along with that, I also have to hit on this, and it was already hit on the chat room, that Jonathan Frakes is an excellent director. And this is an episode that you can kind of tell that somebody who actually understands directing was behind the camera, because as we were kind of joking about before we even started here, we didn't have the stuttery cameras, and when there's the big fight in the turbo lift, that's seamless. You can watch the whole thing. You don't know, you know exactly what's going on. All of that was done well. I got a little dizzy when they're panning around the little galactic map over and over again, but whatever. Mm-hmm. But yeah, and then this is the first time where we actually had the Discovery crew seemed like they knew what the hell they were doing. Mm-hmm. And the fact that, they're getting prepped to deal with the fact that they're in a new universe, all that good stuff. And so they've got some excellent replicators going and making all this stuff really, really quick. And
we got a couple names too of previously unnamed crewmen. I don't remember any of them, but we got them.
That was one of the things I was, and I'll hit on it now, but it's one of the things I don't like about this show still is we don't get many scenes on the bridge, and that's what they were trying to go for. Obviously, when they made the show, they even said that we're not going to be following the captain as the main lead and all that good stuff. So, gotcha. But what we saw here was the first opening scene was a lot of bridge talk. And I don't know anyone on here. And I'm still wondering why the hell Saru's not in a brig. But aside from that, I just don't know anyone on this bridge, and that's annoying as hell. But yeah, I mean, I overall enjoyed the episode. Let's talk about some things. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, and just like that, we shifted into things we don't like.
Well, that's how this show works, man.
Yeah. So
the one thing I will say real quick is, and you've already mentioned it, this struck me as, and I'm not going to spoil it if you haven't watched it yet, but it's made over $1 billion, so you've probably seen it by now. This struck me as much like Last Jedi, is we have all of these different mystery boxes of who's this, what's this, who is that, and this episode's just knocking them down left and right. Okay, it is the mirror universe, knocked down. He is Vogue, move on, we're done with that. Obviously, he's a sleeper agent, great. Let's get all that crap out of the way so we can actually tell a freaking story with the last 5 or 6 episodes. So I appreciate that too.
Well, and and I guess I'll add to that. They knocked down. I feel like they knocked down some of the big boxes, but at the same time didn't completely revealed a mystery or maybe left a little something in its wake. So, there's the reference to the scene between Vok and other Klingon chick whose name I forgot already. Where she says the words and the memories kind of come flooding back to him, but then he switches back to Ash mode, and you catch her saying, well, that should have worked. And she's still confident that it's going to at some point, but it's also leaving the door cracked on that story, which I think was an interesting, really smart way to go with this. I'm excited that it wasn't just a covers torn off and now he's going to run around sabotaging everything. But
his programming is definitely there because, as we were joking about before we went live, much like many movies and TV shows, the black dude has to die first. And fortunately, the doctor is that guy. So as soon as Tyler walked into sick bay, I was like, that dude's dead. I mean, he's not going to make it.
Yeah.
The one thing I will say too, before we get into things we didn't like, is Blake. I think you called it in terms of standards. I think he is definitely doing a Mitchell thing because there was obviously a scene where he had stronger than usual abilities and. The whole being able to understand things outside of it, the normal realm of things definitely strikes me as something that Mitchell did in the original series.
Yeah, it feels very Gary Mitchell. The one thing on, kind of breaking down the boxes comment though, I think they're a little bit maybe more rearranging them.
Yeah.
And again, I think that gets back to that change they had when Brian Fuller left. And, I think he had enough done that they were too far along and committed to at that point. So I kind of think this is, let's salvage what was from that. Let's move it to this area. And then they're already saying season 2, we're going to get into a more familiar Star Trek. So I kind of think we're seeing that now.
Another thing John in the chat room points out is the agonizer boosts were really cool. It's nice to see a shit ton of agonizer boosts. That was nice.
It's also nice to see Lorca getting tortured in one while Burnham and Ash go bone.
Let's just draw out that scene a little bit more, by the way. Like, yes, they're going to screw. We got it. We understand. Oh, you're going to show them doing it. Okay.
Yeah, and that was how they chose to end the episode.
Oh, God. It proves to me without a shadow of a doubt, Burnham is the dumbest person on this ship. Period. We've got a lot of dumb people on this ship. It's like Starfleet put together the most inane crew they could find to put on this major ship that they're working on experiments with. But Burnham is the dumbest one of them all. We were joking again before we started recording. We need to not talk before we hit record. But we're talking about the Nazi-esque Terran Empire salute. Everyone can figure out their role. Tilly can go into BDSM right off the bat. She's good. But Burnham can't even do the freaking salute right. She holds it for forever. I was like, you are a freaking idiot. You're going to get killed, and I hope you do. All right, I'm just complaining now. Speaking of complaining, let's talk about things we didn't like. Blake, what do you got?
Okay. Sorry, which one?
Blake. We'll go Blake.
Okay. So things I didn't like, and it's part of it is going to be I didn't like Tilly as the captain, only because I think she played it great. I think the writing was great on it. My problem there is, other Mirror Universe episodes have been just close enough to, the main universe. And that just, from the Tilly we've seen so far to the Tilly we've seen now is such a difference.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I get the Mirror Universe, but this has gone beyond the mirror, through a couple other mirrors, down a rabbit hole, and, into what the hell land.
I completely understand what you're saying, but it's exactly what Enterprise did, because Archer was a little peon, which I guess that makes sense for Archer anyway.
I was about to say it made sense for Archer.
Yeah, it was Captain and then Emperor Soto. Which, I love how they said a faceless emperor. I'm like, is it still Soto? Or I have another theory I'll talk about later too.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I've got. Yeah,
I think we all have the same theory.
we talked before we went live on this, and we really should stop.
Well, Mike wasn't here for that one, so he may not be thinking the same thing.
But yeah, that was my business. I just think that might have been a little too far. But I mean, overall criticism, I don't have a lot of criticism on this episode.
I am trying, and the reason why I'm looking off screen here, I have the episode pulled up. I am trying desperately to find the picture of the Defiant, because Creeper is arguing with me, saying that the Defiant didn't look like a Constitution class in terms of, he's saying it mainly did, but that it had weird pylons, and I'm trying to find it.
Creeper's right, it did.
It did, yeah.
Find it.
The nacelle struts were like, I thought I saw that they had like an angle in them.
Yeah,
like
there was an angle, and it looked like there was like a pod kind of in between. Like there was a bent angle in them.
Mm-hmm.
I will find it by the end of our discussion here. I swear.
But get ready, Scott's going to argue with someone on the internet now.
Somebody's wrong on the internet. I must fight. Anything else, Blake?
No, I'm good now.
This is how you end up in Facebook jail.
Dude, I love posting just to see how many people drop off my friends list. It's so much fun. I'm still banned by Mike by Matt. So that's an inside joke.
Join the club.
Everyone's banned by Matt.
Yeah,
Mike, what do you got?
Okay. So I'm not the encyclopedic Star Trek guy, and so I'm trying to desperately to remember all of the Mirror episodes that I have watched. I ended up being fine with everything as far as the episode itself goes and how it all played out. But the scene where they were standing around and Burnham was relaying the information about the Terran Empire was way, way over the top, in my opinion. It felt like another one of these like current reality Hollywood jabs, more so than established Star Trek canon. So I'll let you guys correct me if I'm wrong about that or seeing something that's not there.
Oh no, I think that's why they're going to the Mirror Universe, because it allows them to tell that kind of story. But it struck me as the Mirror Universe.
It felt okay to me. It felt like it was beyond the Mirror Universe that we've previously seen. But
well, I mean, because maybe not TOS. TOS was one episode and it was done. But there was discussions in TOS how Kirk took command because he assassinated his predecessor, and Spock was going to do the same thing after they left. But Enterprise really hit on the fact that it's all, whoever has the longest knife and who can wield it the quickest takes over.
I guess it was all the allusions to xenophobia and racism and that kind of stuff that I picked up on, and I was like, okay, Hollywood, like we get it.
I can see that, but Again, I go back to the Enterprise episode, which really is a good episode if you haven't seen it. It starts out at first contact, and they actually have most of the same actors from the film, including James Comrell as Zephyr Cochrane. His name is James Cromwell. There we go, Cromwell.
There you go.
And when the Vulcan comes out and does a salute, Cromwell pulls out a shotgun and blasts him, and they take the Vulcan ship. So that's how the episode starts.
Okay.
So I completely agree with you. They're using the Mirror Universe to make an allegory here, but it's something that's been done before. DS9, like I said, had quite a few episodes in the Mirror Universe. And at that point, the Terran Empire had fallen.
Okay.
Spock failed.
And you're answering my questions right there then, because that was the part that I was confused by. Was I remembered Spock, Mirror Spock. That's the mirror person that you all think of that I think of when I hear Mirror Universe.
Goatee Spock, yeah.
But then most of the other interactions with the Mirror Universe that I personally remember, because I've seen DS9 more than any other Star Trek series, so it felt like it wasn't jiving. So anyway, I'll back off that point, because really in the end it was a minor niggle for me that I don't know, it just kind of bothered me.
Yeah, by the time the whole point of the DS9 arc on that was Spock did listen to R. Kirk and McCoy and decided to try to change the Terran Empire. And he failed to a point where the Cardassians and Klingons took over the galaxy. So,
gotcha.
But yeah, I mean,
okay.
I hear what you're saying, and you're completely right. They did go full tilt on it, but it didn't really shock me because it's what we've had before.
Okay.
What else? Anything else?
My really, like I said, that was a minor one anyway, and I don't know why I led with that, but the main thing that continues to bother me with the show in general is, as you've already pointed out, the bad decision making and lack of accountability. And it's always this deal where you're in the most dire circumstances you can possibly be in. So why would you do something so stupid as to conceal information about somebody who's not sure of themselves, or can falsify medical records, or all of these, sorts of things.
I also want to know if they did a full scan, and the doctor was very clear, like, we did everything. We did the Manchurian test. Ha ha ha.
I caught that, yeah.
You didn't notice that every one of his internal organs had scar tissue and his bones were broken and reformed? You didn't notice any of this? Oh, it was part of the torture. That's way past torture. That's death a couple times over.
You know, they did just say it was a computer scan, so who knows? I was willing to pass that one by as we did the routine thing. It's like when I take my car in for oil and they tell me they check the tire pressure. Like, I know damn well they didn't check the tire pressure. You know? It's just
how dare you, sir, question our mechanics.
Exactly. So anyway, that's it. I mean, that continues to be a bit of a gripe for me as this series progresses. And I suppose if there's anything else I can say, it's we'll see how it pans out, but it's the coincidental, everything just happens to work out where Burnham and Mir Lorca just happen to be missing. So everything jives perfectly. So they have a nice plan. You mentioned it already. Stranger Things season 2 was great, but I kind of had the same problem with that. I feel like that's a one of these current batch of writers have this issue.
Well, if we just forget the Chicago episode, Stranger Things is okay. It's very good. But just forget the Chicago episode.
The whole season kind of had the same thing where a bunch of different plot lines just kind of happened to line up perfectly so that X, Y, and Z could happen, but it was all very improbable.
Yeah,
I know real life can be that way, but
I completely understand what you're saying, and I agree with you to a point. But I've had to give up on that argument with Mir episodes from day one because, you know, it's just how is Kira in charge of the Empire?
I'm not even going to go there. That the entire history of the universe is different, and yet they've constructed identical starships. And you know,
it was nice to see the Shinzu again because I actually like that design.
Yeah,
I like the bridge being underneath the saucer. It's kind of cool looking.
I actually didn't pick up on that until the very end when they did the zoom out. I caught that or missed that detail before.
So a couple things. First off, John makes a good point in the chat room again. I think the fight scene between Burnham and her, whatever guy, Captain Dead Guy. I think that was a great fight scene.
Mm-hmm.
I think it made perfect sense. It was obvious that he was going to try to take her out as soon as humanly possible. Yep. I like the fact that he was, you know, obviously having some issues with, you know, just being a little guy syndrome. Like, they don't bow to me as much as they bow to you, so I have to kill you now. And that all worked out for me fine. And it was the one scene where Burnham actually, you know, doesn't look like an idiot. Every other scene she looks like an idiot, but just that one scene she's fine. A couple things I don't like. I'm happy that they finally revealed what everyone on the internet knew since episode 3 or 4, which is that Tyler is Vogue, so we can get past that and just figure out what he's going to do next. But I'm concerned that they're going to play this whole, as we've already mentioned, that his rewiring didn't take all the way, so he's still trying to fight it, and Burnham's going to be his anchor that's going to keep him human when he's not human, whatever the hell it is.
That's the power of love.
Thank you, Huey Lewis, I think.
Which one of us has been drinking this episode again?
I'm a credit card to ride this train. Yeah, and again, I think my biggest concern, because I don't have much to complain about this episode, honestly, but my biggest concern is I hope we don't stay in the Mirror Universe too long, because the Mirror Universe wears thin pretty quickly on me in general. DS9 was the same way. I mean, the episodes were fun, but I mean, how many times do we have to go back to the Mirror Universe before I get it? Great. Fun. I do want one of those little worker bees, though, to paint my house, because removing the U and putting the I on, that was quick. I want that paint.
You know, and I liked that they did that, because we'd seen the photos floating around about you know, Lorca sitting on the bridge, and there was like the ISS Discovery plaque in the background or whatever, and I thought when I saw this scene where they were doing it reminded me of the the Serenity, where they disguise the ship for the Reavers. It reminded me a little bit of that, and I was kind of like, okay. I mean, that makes this a little bit more interesting then. Like, it's not super obvious what we're going to see happen eventually.
Yeah, and it's amazing how quick they turn all that around. I get it, and I like the motif of it, but damn, how quick did you paint that floor?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
I mean, at the least have a wet floor sign or something.
But you notice they didn't show us them changing the plaque. Now, the reason why we're talking about the plaque, for those who may not know, there was a picture of Jason Isaacs in the command chair before the show even aired, and if you zoom in, it is an ISS Discovery plaque. So I'm wondering, was that from this set and we just didn't see it, or as we now know, it seems like the Spore Drive moved both Discoveries into different universes. So are we going to have the ISS Discovery in our universe for an episode down the road? I can see that happening too, which is something we've never really done. I mean, we've never had the Mirror universe come into our universe. It's always been the other way around. And I'm also still intrigued by the whole Stamets.
That's not true, though, because didn't in the TOS episode the Mirror counterparts end up in the...
I guess so, yeah. Not a whole ship, though. You're right.
Yeah, not a whole ship, but the characters have. The people have been there.
Yeah, the people did swap. Because Crazy Kirk was running around the Enterprise for a while. It was fun.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, so we haven't really seen a ship. But you're right. Some of the characters did swap. I'm also still kind of, I don't know how this all fits with the whole Stan seeing himself in the mirror earlier, if that was just a throwaway to foreshadow what was happening, or if he's got more going on than that. I don't know either, but
yeah,
this kind of doesn't really jive with that yet. But yeah, that's what I got for that. Let's go ahead and do our closing remarks on this episode, and then we'll give it a score, and then we'll also kind of talk about our theories moving forward. We've only got 5 episodes left of the season.
That's actually more than I thought.
Because this is episode 10, and there is 15 episodes, or is it 14?
You're right. Yeah, it's 15. Yep.
Okay, so we got 5 episodes left. Let's go ahead and do closing thoughts along with scores. And for those of you who are joining us for the first time, we give these episodes a score of 0 to 10, and they are based on relation to other episodes in the Star Trek franchise. So a 5 would be an average Star Trek episode, a 10 would be one of the best episodes of all time, and a 1 would be threshold. So, Blake, what do you got?
So, just overall, I think, again, as we've all kind of said, I think the series is finally starting to find its footing a little bit. I do really like this trip into the Mirror universe. I think it's going to be kind of interesting to see how it plays out. So I'm giving this one an 8. I mean, I do think this one was overall a pretty good, solid episode in terms of a Star Trek episode. And I will say, I think by far it's the most Star Trek-y feeling of them so far as how the characters go, the writing.
Yeah. Mike, what do you got?
I'll go pretty high as well. I think I'm going to go with like a 7, just because I want to say, man, and it has been long enough that I've already forgotten which other episode I really liked. It's not my favorite episode. No. I mean, this wasn't my favorite episode of the season, but it was a very good one. And I think, pacing and all that being great, it did have a little bit of weird writing quirks, but yeah, I mean, I think it's good. It's a good setup piece. It moved the story really far, so I'm happy with it overall.
Yeah, I'm going to go with you guys, too. It's definitely above average episode. I'm going to give it a 7 as well. And I think we're all in agreement here. This feels like a Star Trek episode, which has been something Discovery hasn't done for me very often. And I think part of that is because it's leaning on a Star Trek trope that's been there from the beginning. And so it's something that they can just kind of play off of. And I'm hoping they do that more often because, I go back to Enterprise, which I talk about a lot. And the reason why I talk about it is because, for one, it reminds me of Discovery the most of all the episodes, the series. But also with that, it's something that I think they could learn from, because Enterprise got really, really good in the final season 4. And one of the reasons why is it started tying itself into the original series. It had many arcs where it tied into the Klingons losing their ridges. It tied into the to Khan's people and so forth and so on. And these little arcs really just kind of intertwined it with the overall franchise, and I think it was stronger for it. So I'm hoping Discovery kind of plays the same thing. So yeah, I'm gonna give it a 7. Let's go ahead and talk a little about our predictions for the next 5 episodes. Mike, what do you got?
I think the Faceless Emperor is Stamets.
Oh, okay. Blake and I have a different idea. So go ahead.
Interesting. And the only thing I have to back that up is the fact that they did not address Mir Stamets at all when they were doing their briefings. And the fact that I think it could actually play into the fact that the Mirror Universe has a Discovery, which presumably has a spore drive, and B, with that scene of Stamets in the mirror, that could have actually been the Emperor, who is now superpowered from the Mirror Universe, with his sight beyond sight, spying on them and formulating whatever plan we're about to see unfold or something along those lines. So anyway, that is my current theory.
Well,
I think you're. Oh, yeah, go on.
No, I'm gonna build upon that a little bit and say that makes perfect sense. If again you go back to Enterprise again, the Mirror Universe has a lot more knowledge of our universe than we do of theirs, because they had the Defiant. The Defiant was captured by the Mirror Universe, and Captain Soto, then Emperor Soto, delivered it back to the Terran Empire. So they have the Defiant. So they have had Constitution class technology for 70 years. And so they're well aware of our universe. So I could definitely see Stamets working to making that connection, and the spore drive giving him the way to do that.
Well, yeah, I think of Mir Stamets. I think Stamets as a character in general, granted the Mirror Universes tend to be the flip version, right, with Tilly being timid and then going to full-on dominatrix, but I think Stamets as a character, he's in our universe the kind of pacifist scientist guy, and that would lead me to think that Mirror Universe Stamets is probably a pretty cutthroat bastard who now may have superpowers, which we partially witnessed in this episode. He obviously has some extra strength by throwing the Doctor across the room like a rag doll, and he obviously has some kind of crazy, extra sensory stuff going on. So I think, I think it's a pretty decent theory at this point.
And we do know that Stamets is connected to all parallel universes. They kind of hit on that a couple episodes ago. So if he's connected to all of them, that means all of his counterparts would know that too, I would assume.
Yeah.
I'm helping your theory.
Okay,
I don't agree with it, but I'm helping it.
And then other than that, man, I really don't know what to say about Lorca anymore. I don't know if I've kind of come to the realization that Lorca is one of my favorite characters in this series. He's interesting and still kind of mysterious to me, and I'm really interested to see where it goes, and I'm not convinced that where it's going is where it was originally intended to go. We kind of said that earlier. So yeah, I'm not sure. I still feel like they may try to throw a twist at us in this where, he's not what he seems. But I really don't know.
Yeah, he's actually an Irish guy. It was okay. I would tell you, it was I saw it coming a mile away as soon as they did that. But it was amazing for Isaacs to use his real accent to cover his accent.
Yeah,
that was
I did not know that, and I was like on the floor laughing about it when he started doing it.
Because he does, unlike Minnie, he does a really good American accent. So it's hard to tell that he's not American, but when he goes full bore accent, it is amazing. Blake, what do you got?
So for predictions, the theory I think Scott and I kind of think for the Emperor here, or Empress, is if not still Sato herself.
I want 100-year-old Hoshi Sato walking around.
Which that would be awesome if they brought.
Linda Park is amazing, and I want her back in the show.
Yeah, and that would be amazing if they did it. Or we're going to find out that Georgiou is Empress and somehow a descendant of Sato.
Yeah, okay.
Because they never really talked where Georgiou was.
You're correct. They did not.
So if we had I think that could be the setup for Empress. I think Stamets is going to come in another way. I think Mirror Stamets may be how they get the hell out of here.
And I'm thinking Mirror Stamets is over on the Discovery in our universe, and so maybe when Stamets gets over the fact that the Doctor is now dead, he starts realizing he can see both universes again, maybe, or something like that. But yeah, I think it's going to be Emperor Georgiou. I think,
or he gets pissed and takes out some rage on the Klingon Winter Soldier that we've got.
Okay, I finally. Oh God, CBS! When you hit pause on CBS's All Access, it makes the screen go really small. Bastards. Okay, I finally had the Constitution show up. Now I got. I might have to do a screen cap.
Oh, get a magnifying glass, Scott.
Oh my goodness. Damn kids and their internet can't figure stuff out. But yeah, so I agree with that. I think it's going to be Emperor Georgiou, but I do like the Stamets connection. I
see. I actually kind of like your theory, so we'll see.
But I think Stamets is going to be that anchor. I just print screen. Haha, I win. Now I got to go to Microsoft Paint and open it up. So I can see.
Still trying to prove a point on the internet.
No, actually, I'm not. I just because I can see just by the split image of it that it definitely has some tweaks to it. So I want to pull it up so I can look at it because I want to discuss the Constitution class on this episode. So I've been trying to figure that out. Sweet, got it. Sweet. Okay.
You want to share the image with the rest of us so we can look too?
Yeah, I guess I could do that. Hold on. We do have that technology. It's called Facebook. Hold on.
Wait, what?
This is what makes podcasting great. A pause as we. What the hell?
So we could discuss Dominatrix Tilly some more. I mean,
Captain Killy.
Does it need to be discussed more?
I do have to love though. They had Saru say what everyone else was thinking is, well, that's not very creative.
Saru should still be in the brig. I just sent you guys the picture.
I see it. Here, I thought you'd just do a hangout screen share, but
oh, can I do that? Oh yeah, I can do that. Can I?
Oh my God, technology is wonderful, isn't it?
Shut up, Dick. I guess I could. Hold on, let me figure this out. Do I share my screen? Screen share. Here we go.
Yes, this Defiant definitely has some different some changes.
So are you guys seeing it on the screen now?
Yes. Cool. There we go.
So yeah, definitely for one, the Defiant's got some chunks taken out of it.
It's got some notches.
You gotta do that stupid ass saucer thing. I don't like that already. And yes, it definitely has. The nacelles are the same as a TOS nacelle. And it's got
bright red and swirly.
The secondary hull looks more like Kelvin timeline secondary hull, which makes sense because that's what most kids know of the Constitution class now. But that swoop in the pylon is definitely different.
Yeah, they added like
an extra dish on it though.
Yeah,
it has more of a pronounced dish than what the Kelvin had.
I sure hope the dish is a giant ass laser cannon.
Hey, if Star Wars can have Death Star tech in every single movie, we can have a Death Star laser on the Enterprise. Okay, now that I've seen this up close, I don't like it at all. Because, seriously, the Constitution class, without a doubt, is the best-looking ship of any that Star Trek has had. I'm sorry. I think the refit's a little better in the original, but why would you change it so much? Now, even J.J. Abrams' stuff, they changed it, but they didn't really. It had the same pylons. It had the same thing. The nacelles were a little bigger. But this looks goofy.
I agree with what you're saying. The Abrams version of it seemed like visual cosmetic changes for the purpose that needed to happen, making it look good on modern film. I think the changes that we're seeing in that schematic are pointless.
And all they're doing is they're trying to tie it to Discovery, which still makes no sense because Shenzhou doesn't look like that.
Well, and here's the other question: could that potentially be schematic of modifications made to it after it was turned over to the Empire?
Okay, then I would. If that was the case, I would take out my I don't like it, and I'd be okay with that. If they actually tweaked it after they got it, because obviously it was damaged when it went through, but the Enterprise went out of its way to make it look just like the TOS model.
But it was still being held by the Tholians at that point.
Yeah. Now we're just getting really geeky.
Yeah, now we're getting way geeky here.
Yeah, John says I'm being picky, picky, picky. Well, John,
I agree with you, John.
I have a Constitution class behind my head. See it there? It's pretty. I also have an XL1 and a Sovereign class because those are pretty too. So I am picky because I'm a geek. Anything else you guys want? And the other thing I would say with my predictions is I do think that this is going to be the end of the Spore Drive. When they get over out of the mirror universe into our universe again, I think it's going to deal with Stamets being the anchor point, but I also think that it will be the end of the Spore Drive in some way. They will use special technobabble to wipe that out of history because they know as much as we do it's a stupid idea.
Well, I still think that the path is there to do that, and I think one of us made that in an earlier episode as a prediction, is the reason that the Spore Drive will never have been heard of again is Starfleet's going to step in and say, it lets you into this hellacious mirror universe. We want nothing to do with it. It is now like banned, classified, never to be spoken of again.
We don't want them coming over here.
I'm hoping it's more so that than some kind of goofy temporal mumbo jumbo, like erased it from existence thing. I hope it's just a top secret thing that we all realize was a bad idea.
I think, they're going to section 31 the hell out of it. And it'll be the same thing with the mirror universe because the flagship crew in 10 years isn't going to know the mirror universe exists. So they have to get rid of that too in some way. But yeah, I think that's going to be our way to get around that. And if this is a sign of things to come, I'm happy with it. In fact, I think this is moving in the right direction for the first time in a while. And that's saying a lot because the last two episodes were just bad. Into the Forest I Go was just bleh. So if they're trying to figure this stuff out finally, I'm looking forward to seeing how they handle it in the next 5 episodes. And I think we're all in agreement that when we get into season 2, we're going to have some kind of reset. Maybe not a temporal reset per se, but we're gonna see something different in season 2 than we have here.
Has there been any talk in season 2 about whether it'll be a different cast?
No, it's going to be the same cast. Well, whoever survives.
Yeah, that's it. Whoever.
Okay, I was going to say, at one point, I know early in the podcast, we discussed the fact that there were some rumors swirling that season 2 might not be about the Discovery at all.
Originally, the plan was to have this be an anthology series. And Brian Fuller even said, and this was years ago, that there'll be season-long stories, and it doesn't have to be set in the same ship. You could have the next season be after Nemesis. But when CBS started looking at the budget for it, they said, we need to have these sets last more than 1 year. So you're going to stick on one ship. The other thing that's interesting is we did have that rumor come out that Nicholas Meyer is working on a different show. And Robert Meyer Burnett again confirmed with me when we interviewed him for our Twilight Zone podcast, Zonesodes, go check it out, that Nicholas Meyer is not in the writer's room anymore for Discovery. So he's gone. So, and he was the last real hook, but with the Brian Fuller stuff. So Kurtzman obviously is definitely running the show now. Sorry, Mike. Anything else you guys want to say in closing?
Nope.
Well,
Captain Killy.
Yes, Captain Killy. The witch of something. I don't know.
Yeah.
I will say this. I want to, as much as that actress has been annoying as hell to me, and I have hated that character, I had so much fun watching her take over that bridge because she did so well. I don't know if it's definitely out of character, but the actress did a great job.
I'll throw this out there real quick. We've already seen a couple of glimpses where the character of Tilly as the super nervous, kind of neurotic, has shown through as having a wild side. So at least they sort of built to the point that she had this inner.
She's got an inner blonde.
It wasn't completely out of nowhere.
Her mom would be happy with the blonde. Yes. On that note, you can find us at thefrontrowmoviereviews.com. You can email us at thefrontrowmoviereviews@gmail.com. And if you're watching us on YouTube, be sure to hit subscribe and like, and also hit that notify button so you know when we go live. We had quite a few folks in the chat room today, so I want to thank you all for joining us. Cynthia said we're going to have Captain Special Guest Star on, and she said the one who died in the pilot. And I think we we caught up with her on that one. So please hit the notify button so you can join us in this conversation. We usually pop on around 9 o'clock or whenever we finish watching the episode on Sunday nights. And then we also have quite a few other shows on our network, including, as I have plugged to death, our Zonazodes Twilight Zone retrospective. And Blake and I are watching the hell out of Babylon 5 for some apparent reason. So we'll have that coming soon enough. But yeah, so make sure to like and subscribe.
Actually a good series.
Yes, except for I just watched Infection.
Not so much on that. Everyone's got to have its threshold.
Infection's pretty close to threshold.
Yes, it is. I know what you're talking. Yeah,
but we're getting there. Parliament of Dreams is my next on my watching list. So we'll be having that come up pretty soon too. But again, make sure you subscribe. And if you're listening to us on the podcast version, please get us subscribe and also give us a review on Stitcher, iTunes, whatever your podcast piece of choice is, because that obviously helps us get out to more people. And so we will be back here next week to discuss the next episode that will find us still in the Mirror Universe. Until then, I am Scott, and with me has been
Blake.
Blake and Mike. And I got no witty thing to say. So Saru should be in a brig.
Just as long as we're not going with Mike's idea, I'm fine however we end this.
Oh.
we could all be like Burnham and just stand here like this for a half an hour in the transporter pad.
Nope, not even gonna do that.
Nope.
And hope no one kills us.
Nope.
She's an idiot.
Mirror Universe Harry Mudd's gonna save the day.
I'd be okay with that. Of the three of us, I feel like I'm the one who likes Harry Mudd the most. So
I liked Mudd.
I just going to be a Mirror Universe Harry Mudd will be a freedom fighter for sure.
Well, and wasn't Rainn Wilson was signed for a few episodes for this?
Oh, he'll be back.
He's got more time coming.
Yeah, he'll be back.
There you go. I'm telling you.
They got. Yeah, I like the freedom fighter idea, or maybe he could be Emperor Mudd. That's what it's going to be.
Oh
Emperor
dear.
Mudd.
Oh god.
All right, I'm signing off.
Yep. On that note.
Bye.
Good evening.